Welcome to Are You Quizzing Me? I am Vineet Nair with my co-host Aditya Kashyap. This is a quizzing trivia podcast show. Join us as we dive deep into history, science, pop culture, and so much more. Let's get quizzing. And we're back for episode number 100 of Are You Quizzing Me, your favorite quizzing and trivia podcast show. Aditya and I have been at it for 100 episodes straight, bringing you the best quiz questions this side of the galactic boundary. So, welcome one and all our listeners to our 100th episode. We've been doing it for just about 2 years now, and we couldn't be more excited for this very, very special episode that we are coming to you with. As usual, before every episode, we have an audience question. And this is a question that starts off the episode and the answer to which I reveal at the end of it. So, the audience question, the very special audience question for our audience today is the word X in German means fear. The same word with the same spelling in English means a non-specific feeling of anxiety and frustration. Identify the word X. Let me repeat the question. The word X in German means fear. And the same word with the same spelling in English means a non-specific feeling of anxiety and frustration. Identify the word X. And I will reveal the answer to this question at the end of our very special 100th episode. I am going to now pass the baton to Aditya to explain why exactly this is a special episode, apart from the fact that we have, humble brag, done 100 episodes straight.
100 episodes, Vineet. When we started, I remember you told me this one thing, that most podcasts that are successful, or let's say that survive, if you want to survive 1 year, you just have to survive the first 2 months, and then there's a higher chance of surviving 1 year. And if you want to survive the first 5 years, you just have to survive the first 2 years to get to that 5-year mark.
Yeah.
So we have hit the 2-year mark and more, actually. And 100 episodes. Oh, Lord, that is a lot of episodes. You have been my most consistent relationship in the last 2 years and last 100 episodes, which is saying a lot. Yeah. I don't think I've spent this much time talking to anybody as I have done to you. And any listener who still does not know this fact, I will reiterate it. Vineet and I still have not met. We have never met in our whole life.
Yeah, in person.
Yeah.
But given the way that technology and the world is going now, I think maybe virtual friendships will become as important or as significant as real life in-person ones. Yeah, but we've never met in person in IRL, to quote the internet lingo. I think now we've gone so far, I think we'll keep it going as long as humanly possible. That we're going to actively avoid you.
No, this has to go on because if nothing else, it gives me something to look forward to every week.
Yes.
And that brings me to why 100th episode is special, because Vineet and I have been doing this for a while, and every so often we feel like we want to bring in a fresh voice, and so many amazing, intelligent, brilliant, just trivia nerds of the highest pedigree have graced our podcast over the last century of episodes. And each time they appeared on the podcast, we promised them that we'd love to bring them back on. And some of them have come back on as well. And this seemed like a perfect opportunity to bring all of them back on. So we decided that we're going to ask all of our previous guests to send in a question. And they have done so, and how. So Vineet has some of these questions and I have not heard them yet. And I have some of these questions which Vineet has not heard yet. So we will act as their proxy quizmasters, but due credit to the original quizmasters who did send in the question, which will be revealed in their own voices, actually, because we have their audio recordings. So that should be fun. Vineet, before we start the episode, though, I have to ask you, favorite episode from the last 100? Let's exclude the guest episodes because all of them have been stellar.
Oh, yeah. I was actually going to point out a few of the guest episodes. But, no, that's a tough question. This is like Sophie's choice. You're asking me to choose from between my children. It's just not fair.
But if you had to pick your favorite child.
Okay. I think our 2023 end of year episode was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, 2023 end of the year episode was good. 2024 was also great.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Both the year-end episodes were great. I loved the Gen Z lingo one. the one where we're doing.
That was our weirdest one of all. Like, yeah, that would be number one among our most weird episodes ever. But again, it was a
Hmm.
request from a fan, follower to the podcast, who had asked us and suggested this particular one. So, yeah, I get why it's special to you.
Yeah, no, I love that one.
So, I'm going to start off the proceedings by being the proxy for our fantastic quiz master, Rajiv De Silva. Rajiv was our guest quizmaster in episodes number 64 and 65.
First of all, thank you guys for inviting me back, even for one question on this podcast, on this 100th episode of the podcast. I had great fun the couple of times I was on the show, and so I'm happy to be back for this guest question. Okay, so a guy called Gösta Mittag-Leffler, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Gösta Mittag-Leffler, he was a professor at the turn of the 20th century, and he allegedly, the word allegedly being key here, had a brief affair with a woman called Sofie Hess. This is one of the supposed reasons, or one of the reasons believed to be behind what notable omission? That's the question. So, just to repeat, Gösta Mittag-Leffler was a professor at the turn of the 20th century, and he allegedly had an affair, a brief affair, with somebody called Sofie Hess. And this is one of the reasons touted behind what notable omission.
Oh, interesting. Turn of the 20th century, he mentioned, right?
Yes, he did mention the turn of the 20th century. And I really wish Rajiv was here in person asking us this question, because then I would have had a chance to flex, because I actually do know this. So, Aditya, it's all yours.
I am going to take a guess. I don't know if the timeline fits, but is this Nobel Prize?
Oh, okay. You're halfway there. What exact omission is Rajiv talking about?
There is no Nobel Prize for mathematicians.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yes, you're right. There are actually no Nobel Prizes for mathematicians. Now, in the hope that the question would go on longer, Rajiv had also recorded a couple of clues. So I'm just going to play those clues also for our audience to have a flavor of what it would be like if Rajiv had actually posted those to us.
Okay, I'll give a couple of clues which may help. One clue is that Mittag-Leffler was a professor at the University College of Stockholm. So that might help you place this geographically. And Sophie was based in Vienna. And Mittag-Leffler used to travel to Vienna apparently often as part of his academic duties. And that's when the tryst is supposed to have occurred.
Yeah, the clue makes sense.
Okay, I'll give another clue if it's still required. And that clue is that the crux of the matter here, or the nub of the issue, is that Sophia Hess, was actually somebody else's mistress at that time when this dalliance supposedly occurred.
I was not sure of any of these names. I just knew the fact that there was an affair to be blamed behind the omission of mathematics as a field from the Nobel Prizes. I love it. It's such a fun question.
Yes, and here's the answer in Rajiv's own voice.
Just to reiterate, the answer is that this is the reason, alleged reason, that there is no Nobel Prize in mathematics. So it turns out that Sophie Hess was Alfred Nobel's mistress, and Mittag-Leffler was a professor of mathematics at the University College of Stockholm. So because of this supposed brief affair, Nobel was generally pissed at mathematicians, and specifically didn't want to institute a prize which might be at some point won by Mittag-Leffler, and which is why he didn't institute a mathematics prize under the Nobel umbrella.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you for being such a sport and sending us this question for our 100th episode. You were one of our fan favorites as a guest quiz master, and we sincerely hope to get you back for another episode soon. Okay, Aditya, hit me with it. Who do you have a question from?
Before I get to my question, I just have to point out that Alfred Nobel thought his legacy would be one of violence And he wanted to change that because, of course, he is credited with inventing dynamite. And he wanted to change that. So Nobel Peace Prize and, the sciences and all of those things came into being. But the man could not get over this one thing.
See, as I say, all's fair in love and war.
Mm.
He was able to give up war, but he was not able to give up love.
Oh, Vineet, look at you waxing poetic.
Yes,
Just
it's a full moon outside.
on our 100th episode. All right, okay. That was a great question. And I believe that leads me no better segue than to just say another great question. And this one is to our first ever guest and our most frequent guest. Hari Krishna HK has sent me a fun little question, actually 2 questions. And he left it to me to figure out the answer to the questions. I actually had to Google it. I was not sure what it was.
Oh God, then I'm not getting it.
No, you actually might. I feel like you might get this. But in any case, here's HK's voice with the question.
Congrats, Aditya and Vineet, for reaching the milestone of 100 episodes. I'm really, really happy for you all, and I'm so glad that I get to also have my voice back on this podcast after what feels like a while. So here you go. The earliest use of this term can be traced to the Guardian columnist and BBC journalist Ben Hammersley, who coined it in early February 2004. The term was first used in this community in September 2004 when Danny Gregoire introduced it in a message to the iPodder dev mailing list, from where it was adopted by Adam Curry. Despite the etymology, the content can be accessed using any computer or similar device that can play media files. What term am I talking about?
Okay, if I'm not mistaken, this is the origin of the word podcast.
Ooh, that was a very quick crack. And yeah, HK anticipated that you'll be able to crack it very quickly, Vineet. So let me just repeat it. Podcast, the word, is a portmanteau of iPod and broadcast, and its earliest use was traced to the Guardian columnist and BBC journalist Ben Hammersley, who coined it in early February 2004 while writing an article for The Guardian. The term was first used in the audio blogging community in September of 2004 when Danny Gregory introduced it in a message to the iPodder dev mailing list, from where it was adopted by podcaster Adam Curry. Right? So now, since Vineet cracked that very quickly and HK anticipated the fact that Vineet might crack it very quickly,
No.
follow-up question. And this question I cracked, and you'll know exactly why I cracked it. So
Before I play that clip, I'm going to guess that it's going to be some sort of clever wordplay, and that HK knows my weakness.
HK knows what I love, in fact, more than anything else. So he has sent this question.
And if you've cracked that question really quickly, which I'm guessing is going to be the case for both of you because you're both amazing folks, what's the subsequent derived nickname that has been given for Adam Curry himself?
Subsequent nickname given to Adam Curry himself, something like a pod god. I don't know. I'm just blowing smoke out of my
You
now.
are so close, tantalizingly close.
Oh God. Okay. See that's the limit to which my brain will actually think of things that are very clever. When it comes to wordplay, because I knew it'd be something. So then I was like thinking podcast, pod god, because we're talking about Adam Curry. I don't know. Any clue that you could possibly give me, or maybe something that Hari has sent?
Now that he sent one, but let me give it a shot. What would you call somebody who is the flag bearer, who's path breaker in any field, who leads the charge in any domain?
Is he a pioneer? Like a pioneer?
Forget about that. I'm just asking in general.
Pioneer.
Pioneer, or another word like a phrase, actually.
The father of podcasts or something like that.
Exactly. Father of podcast, but something to do with pod god, father of podcast. Just combine these two and you're there.
He's the god of podcasts. He's the father of.
It's one word.
It's one word.
Also a famous movie.
He's a godfather.
He's the pod father.
Okay, so there are so many different layers to that. Or it's just one layer and my brain is unable to comprehend clever wordplay. Damn you, wordplay.
Vineet, see, all of us have our strengths, okay? You You are a medical genius. You are also very good with music. You are also extremely smart when it comes to history. Some other people are good at making stupid jokes out of words. Okay, so let us all just give each other space to be good at what we're good at. Okay. Okay, all right. So that was HK's question, quite apt for our 100th podcast episode. The origin of the word podcast, and Adam Curry, who's called the Podfather because of his efforts in the podcasting community.
Nice, nice. Very nice. And for our audience, if you want to listen to those excellent episodes where HK has been a quizmaster, I would advise you to go and check out episodes 11, 10, 59, 77, and 86 of our podcast catalog. It's so much fun to say catalog. Like we have a huge amount of episodes and content, in our rearview mirror.
At this point, I'm not even sure if I pose a question. Have I already posed the question before? It is very likely that you and I, at some point, are going to start repeating questions and not even realize it.
Yeah, possible. But then, hopefully that doesn't happen because usually either of us, one of us will recognize it. That sounds familiar. Maybe we've already done this before. So, moving on to our next quizmaster, Aniruddha Sen Gupta, affectionately known as Annie to us, who was our guest quizmaster for episodes number 70 and 71. And he has been so kind as to send us a question. Take it away, Annie.
American science fiction author Paul Myron Anthony Linebarger, who lived from 1913 to 1966, used the nom de plume of Cordwainer Smith, the two names referring to persons who made different things, like a cooper makes barrels. Harlan Ellison, another well-known science fiction author born in 1937, used the pseudonym Cordwainer Bird in tribute to Linebarger's pen name. Now we know a smith basically works with metal stuff. What does a cordwainer make?
That question was so unexpected. Like, I didn't even know where it was going till the last word.
Yeah. Annie's questions are always like that, and I just love it. He picks up these nuggets of trivia and he makes these insane connections which I would not even think of. And to be honest, I did not get this until his clue. And once he gave the clue, it kind of clicked.
Okay. Wow. Cordwainer Smith. I'm just right now. I'm just letting it sink in that that's where the question ended up. Because I was like, oh, what is he going to ask? All right. Cordwainer Smith. Smith is somebody who works with metal. What does a cordwainer do? Cordwainer, something to do with cords, wire, some electrical job, something to do with wiring.
No.
Okay. Should we have the clue then?
Oh, yes. So, like I said, I was totally in the dark until he gave an excellent clue, I have to say.
Thelma Dash, who collaborated with Martin Scorsese as his film editor for over 5 decades, winning a record 3 Oscars in the process, has the Dutch name for the cordwainer's profession.
So, Aditya, any ideas?
Scorsese's the editor, right?
Yes, Scorsese's editor. First name Thelma. She's quite famous. She did a lot of his movies, including Goodfellas, Taxi Driver.
Is Wolf of Wall Street also by her? I think it's by her.
I think so. I'm not.
Because I remember, I don't know where it was, some random video, some YouTube video essay, where this editor was talking about how the last thing that she cares about is continuity. She would rather prioritize the emotions of the actor and the vibe and the feeling of the scene than like, oh, where was the hand or where was this particular object. A lot of beginner editors focus on continuity, and she's like, oh, that's the last thing I care about. And well, her work speaks for itself. But okay, that's all I know about her. And oh, it's annoying me now because I can't remember what her last name is. Her last name is the Dutch.
The Dutch version of Cordwainer.
Okay, Thelma something, right?
Yes.
No, I cannot remember her name right now. So that's going to be a little tough.
Yeah, so then you'll definitely get it when you listen to clue number 2 from Annie.
A football goalkeeper in the 1980s and one of the all-time greats of Formula One racing have the equivalent German word for their surnames?
Oh, this is a brilliant question. Oh God, the clues made the question even better. I love that. Oh, this is
Yes,
Michael Schumacher, Thelma Schoonmaker, something like that. Her name is also something
Sean Maker.
Schoonmaker. So Cordwainer is a shoemaker.
Exactly.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is so cool. I love this. Oh God.
Leave it to Annie to give us such fantastic questions. His questions are so complex and at the same time so simple. He's a master quiz right. I'm going to make it his
Hmm.
new surname. Rename him as Aniruddha Quiz right. Like you
Quiz
have
right.
Arc right and Boat right and so Wayne right and whatnot.
No, that well deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah.
He's quite poetic with his trivia. I love it. Each subsequent line, each subsequent piece of hint also made the original question better somehow.
Exactly.
Cordwainer, Schoonmaker, Schumacher. Oh, love that. Love it. All right.
So I have a follow-up question because Annie had given such a great, like a fantastic question. I have a question. So he mentioned Thelma Schoonmaker as one of the clues. Thelma Schoonmaker, obviously prolific editor. She's done hundreds of movies that you've heard of. Raging Bull, The Color of Money, Michael Jackson's music video Bad, Goodfellas, Cape Fear, Casino. You know, most of the Gangs of New York, The Aviator, The Departed, Shutter Island, Hugo, The Wolf of Wall Street. Huge and very impressive body of work. She has, however, edited or rather co-edited one Bollywood movie. Do you know which one that is?
Ooh, I had no idea that she's done a Bollywood movie.
She co-edited it with Prerna Saigal.
That's so unfortunate that I probably know fewer Bollywood editors than I do Hollywood ones.
Mm-hmm.
But no idea at all. Can you give me maybe a year or something?
I'll give you the director. The director is Anurag Kashyap.
Ah, Mr. Kashyap, the more famous A. Kashyap. Anurag Kashyap's film that she's. I don't think it's Gangs of Wasseypur.
No, it's not.
I'm pretty sure it's not. I know. I mean, I have a vague recollection that was some Indian editor.
The movie starred KK Menon as well.
KK Menon has been in a Anurag Kashyap film. Actually, that sounds just about right. But which film?
Okay, that was supposed to be a misdirect, but chalo. I thought you would fall into the trap, but you didn't. I'll tell you the basic. I mean, like it has a fantastic technical team behind it, directed by Anurag Kashyap. It obviously has, as I mentioned, editing by Thelma Schoonmaker and Prerna Saigal. It was based on a book by Gyan Prakash.
Oh, Bombay Velvet.
Yes, it is Bombay Velvet. So Bombay Velvet was one of Anurag Kashyap's biggest commercial disasters, but it has the unique feature that it was edited by the legendary Thelma Schoonmaker.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
It is, it is. And speaking of occupational surname, you may have heard of the obvious ones like Baker, Brewer, Glover, right? Taylor. These are all names. Have you heard of the name Kellogg?
Like from Kellogg's?
Yes, Kellogg's cornflakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's also, if you didn't know, the person who's responsible for most people in the US being circumcised. Look that up. So Kellogg is also an occupational surname. Can you guess what it is? What occupation it denotes?
Kellogg. Log. Something to do with wood cutting? Something like that?
Oh, no.
No idea. Kellogg. Can't think of anything.
Believe it or not, Kellogg is a pork butcher.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so Kellogg is basically has evolved over time from kill hog, as in hog, as in a big sow or pig, and kill as in to butcher it. So kill hog, when you say it in a Southern American accent, it somehow becomes Kellogg.
No, I don't think that's a strength neither. Either of us can do good accents. I think we should just not.
No. Our strength is doing terrible accents.
That is true. It becomes funny at some point. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. So that, Annie, thank you again for that fantastic question. And just a reminder, you can catch Annie in two episodes, actually, in episode number 70 and 71 of Are You Quizzing Me? So go back and check it out. Aditya, over to you.
Okay. Actually, over to Aishwarya, who has been on our podcast. And as a reminder, because all of these people have some stellar background in quizzing and in trivia, both Sai and HK have done trivia for the longest time, have been friends with me since college, and a lot of it we bonded over trivia. Aishwarya is responsible for both Vineet and my favorite Instagram pages, Reading Room India, which does do a lot of current events and trivia. Annie, similarly, very well known in the quizzing circles. Berty, very well known in the quizzing circles. Rajiv as well. So all of these people have done that. And yeah, like I mentioned, and Aishwarya is the one responsible for Reading Room India. So Aishwarya has been kind enough to send us a question as well.
Congratulations on your 100th episode. I'll jump right into my question since I'm very excited to ask this. A historic house museum in the Queen's neighborhood of Corona commemorates the life of what legendary jazz musician and trumpeter who lived there for 28 years until his death in 1971. I repeat, a historic house museum in the Queen's neighborhood of Corona commemorates the life of what legendary jazz musician and trumpeter who lived there for 28 years until his death in 1971.
Okay, we know from her episode that she's a big fan of jazz. I am not. But the only jazz trumpeter I know is Louis Armstrong.
Yeah, nothing else to add. It is Louis Armstrong. You are right. That was a quick crack. I thought I'd have to give you a few hints. In this case, I think because she's such a huge fan of jazz, she probably didn't think we'd need a hint, but I would have needed one if this question was posed to me. So I looked up a few hints and I'll give them to you. Firstly, his name, he always pronounced it Louis, even though a lot of people, just you did, pronounce it Louis because that's the original French pronunciation.
Yeah.
He answered to both, but he himself used Louis. And if anybody ever pointed out that since it's originally a French name, it should be pronounced Louis, he would always reply saying, I ain't French, which is such a cool response.
But he was from Louisiana, right? He was from New Orleans, which was traditionally a French colony before it was absorbed into the US. So I always assumed that his name would be pronounced as Louis. Wow, I did not know that he pronounced it as Louis.
Louis, he preferred the Lewis, Louis pronunciation of his name.
Ah.
Another cool piece of trivia, which again, maybe wouldn't lead you to the answer, but still nonetheless a fun piece of trivia. He told people his birth date was, and in most likelihood believed it to be the case, that his birthday was July 4th, 1900.
Okay.
Presumably because it would be easy to remember.
Yeah, Independence Day and the beginning of the first year of the century. Yeah.
Exactly. It wasn't until many years after his death that a birth record was found confirming the correct date as August 4th, 1901. So he was off by exactly 1 year and 1 month.
Yeah, nice.
So that was Louis Armstrong. Also, by the way, he's credited with the word chops, which means a musician's playing ability. And he came up with that word. So he coined that particular word.
Oh, nice.
Some fun trivia. I love how this question was so emblematic of Aishwarya because she loves traveling and she loves arts, the music, dance, all of it. So
yeah,
pretty much encapsulated her interests.
I have a follow-up on that because you said Louis Armstrong. So do you know Louis Armstrong's connection with James Bond?
Ooh, no, I don't.
If my memory serves me right, there's only one James Bond movie which did not have a Bond theme song, as in a song with lyrics. It had an instrumental.
Oh.
There's only one movie which did not have a lyrical theme song. It had an instrumental. However, there is a Louis Armstrong song, which has become emblematic of that particular film. It was the secondary theme to the film. It's played throughout. It was actually repeated, I think, in certain portions of No Time to Die as well. And it's a haunting song and so perfectly apt for that particular James Bond film.
Okay.
So, do you know which song I'm talking about? Which Louis Armstrong song, or rather, which movie? If you can tell me. Both are so interconnected that if you know one, you probably know the other.
No idea at all.
Okay. You've heard of all the people who've played James Bond, right?
Sure. Yeah.
There's only one person who's played James Bond officially for only one movie. Do you know who he is?
Ooh, I'm forgetting the name. Never mind. Yeah.
He appeared in only one movie. Do you know which movie that is? That's the movie that we're talking about.
Is it You Only Live Twice?
That's not the one. You Only Live Twice, if I'm not mistaken, was Roger Moore.
Okay. No, I don't think You Only Live Twice is Roger Moore. I think if that's not him, then it's Sean Connery. I think it is the last film of Sean Connery, I think.
Yes, you're right. You're right. You Only Live Twice.
It's right after Sean Connery. That guy who came in was right after Sean Connery, and then he did only one film.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I've got it switched around. So, yes.
But what's his name? I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah, okay. It's Australian actor George Lazenby. He
Ah,
appeared only for one movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
right.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And the song that we're talking about by Louis Armstrong was We Have All the Time in the World.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so the song title was basically Bond's last words in the film. And it was a pivotal James Bond film because it kind of set the tone for the next few of the films in his revenge against Spectre, and the same thing that we see in the recent movies with Daniel Craig as well. That there's a personal attack on James Bond and his wife, Tracy Bond. It's a spoiler that she dies at the end of the movie, having been murdered by Blofeld. And the last words that James Bond says in the movie is, "We have all the time in the world." And that particular song, fantastic song, was performed by Louis Armstrong. So that's Armstrong's connection to James Bond.
Oh, sorry. By the way, I just realized that after Lazenby, I think Sean Connery came back to the series with Diamonds Are Forever.
Yes, I think Diamonds Are Forever.
So You Only Live Twice was the last film in his first run, and then he did one more film, which was Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah.
Okay. Phenomenal. I think that brings the question asking back to you or back to our next guest.
So the next quizmaster who has been so kind to send us a question is the inimitable Berty Ashley. Berty is, again, one of our most popular quizmasters. He appeared on episode 90 and 91. Go check those episodes out. They are fantastic episodes. You can check it out. Berty Ashley, he's a phenomenon in human walking form, walking on two legs. That's all I can say about him. And the next voice you're going to be hearing is that of Berty Ashley.
Hello, this is Berty Ashley here, and here is my question. The Karman line, Karman, is an imaginary line which is important for legal and regulatory measures and named after Hungarian-American engineer Theodor von Karman. He was the first person to calculate when the atmosphere becomes too thin to support aeronautical flight. According to the FIA definition, the Karman line is exactly 100 kilometers from what entity?
100 kilometers away from what entity?
Yes.
I would have said sea level. That would be the most obvious answer.
Can you be a little more specific? Because sea level isn't the same throughout the world.
Throughout the world, fair enough. Then I'd have to say the sea level at... is it even the same across the equator? I'm just wondering if it's the same across the equator.
It's not. You're right. It's not the same across the equator.
Okay, so some specific point it is. Then let's just say Cape Canaveral. Like the sea level at Cape Canaveral.
Yeah, I mean, like, you would think that the Americans would do something so Americo-centric, if that's such a word. But no, it's not that.
Okay.
You're there. You just have to add maybe a word to your answer.
Oh, just a word. Average sea level?
I'll give it to you. It's a mean sea level.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to play out Bertie's clues and the answer in his own words because he asked this question for a specific reason.
So, although the common line is more general and has no distinct physical significance. It is the altitude at which conventional airplanes or high altitude balloons, they stop. Even satellites, they decay before completing a single orbit. So basically, it's the edge of space. After that is outer space. So if outer space is the upper limit, what is the bottom limit? That's your first clue.
Okay. Makes sense. Space is the outer limit. Got it.
So the answer is, of course, mean sea level. Yes, 54 nautical miles, 62 miles, or 330,000 feet. Or, to celebrate 100 episodes, exactly 100 kilometers above mean sea level is the common line. Wish everybody who's listening to this many more interesting episodes, fun facts, and tantalizing trivia on this podcast.
This man is the god of segways. He is the absolute undisputed champion of segways. Considering how you and I both struggle with segways
Exactly.
and have been for the last 100 episodes, he comes in with the smoothest segways. He managed to make a question also about this. I love it. Amazing.
So that was the indomitable, inimitable Berty Ashley. Catch his full-length episodes in episodes number 90 and 91. And if you're a reader of the Hindu newspaper, guess what? He's the guy who makes the Sunday quiz every Sunday for the Hindu newspaper.
Well, this brings me to our second ever guest, I believe.
So, if I'm not mistaken, Sai appeared on episodes number 20 and 21, which is way back in our infancy.
And I still remember episode 21, the last question, and that was Sai's question. He asked the last question, and it was one of my absolute favorite questions that he has ever asked. I'm not going to tell you much. It has something to do with World War II history. So go check it out. It is a phenomenal question. I remember both Vineet and I were blown away. And for added fun, I guess either it's episode 20 or 21, where I quote my favorite New York Times headline.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember it was a lovely wordplay. One of the best just chef's kiss of wordplay. So yeah, go check out those two things from that guest episode. And Sai has not disappointed this time either. Some really, really cool trivia coming your way in Sai's voice.
Congratulations on the 100th episode. That's an amazing milestone. Some trivia that recently stumbled across that I found pretty interesting is whenever there's an unexpected fauna haven, if you will. And I came across it because I found out that the third largest nature reserve in mainland Europe, which is like 2,800 kilometers square across, was formed not too long ago and has some unique endemic species, one of which is the eastern tree frog that typically is green in every other part of the world, but there's a black eastern tree frog in this particular nature reserve. Another one, for example, it's one of the only nature reserves in the world where the Amur leopard and the Siberian tiger coexist, both incredibly rare species, is this 155 kilometer long corridor that's literally just a mile across, but it's just an area that's home to 5,000 pretty rare species, two of which are these famous Amur leopards and the Siberian tigers. And lastly, the third one that stood out to me is the European Green Belt. It's like this ecological corridor that actually spans 24 countries from the Baltic Sea to the Balkans, basically. It's home to several rare lynxes and wolves and other endangered / rare species in Europe. This was another unexpected fauna haven, and all three of these clearly are man-made fauna havens and in a way have resulted in unique homes for rare species.
Okay, so you've heard the question in Sai's voice, but because there was a little bit of background noise, I'm just going to clarify what the question was one more time. By the way, I realized all of our guests have some sort of traffic happening in the background. Even Berty's voice note at that. I love it. I think all our guests are just getting together, having a party without us. I love it. Okay, so Sai's question actually has to do with unexpected areas in the world that have become nature reserves, that they were not intended for them to be nature reserves. They just happen to have become nature reserves. And he has given 3 examples, right?
Okay.
The first one that he mentioned was the third largest nature reserve in mainland Europe, and it was never even meant to be a nature reserve, right? And he mentioned, I believe, a frog,
Okay.
which is black in color in that nature reserve, whereas everywhere else in the world, that species would be green in color. So that was the first
Okay.
one that he mentioned. Take a guess as to which area this could be. Because these are obviously, like you mentioned, they were not meant to be nature reserves. They just happened to become nature reserves. So what were they meant for, or how did these places come to become nature reserves? Take a guess for the first one.
Are these like urban, similar to the Manhattans that we talked about? Are these similar? Are these like urban nature reserves or something like that? Urban populations which have now become nature reserves.
Interesting. I would not say exactly that. No, not that.
Okay. Unexpected. Is it unexpected nature reserve? Third largest in Europe. Oh, Chernobyl
The CEZ, the Chernobyl exclusion zone.
exclusion zone. Yeah. Oh, okay. So then, what are the other two? I mean, like, so these are like radioactive places.
All right, so let's get to the other two as well. So the first one, like you guys said, right, Chernobyl exclusion zone, which covers 2,800 square kilometers, especially in
Yeah.
Ukraine, and represents the third largest nature reserve in mainland Europe, and has become an iconic, if accidental, experiment in rewilding of these places. So interesting, actually, if you go see, scientists didn't expect this area to have thriving life forms for a very long time, and yet they have come back, and come back how? So it just goes to show that nature is resilient beyond our expectations sometimes. So that's the first one, and a really cool one to start off with. The second one that he mentioned was interesting, especially because of the leopard that is found over there alongside of the Siberian tiger. So Amur leopard and Siberian tiger is the only nature reserve where both of these are found.
Siberian tiger and the Amur leopard. Is this Fukushima?
No, it's not Fukushima. Interestingly enough, the dimensions will lead you to this probably. It's 155 kilometers long, but only a mile wide.
Uh, Siberia. This is the Tunguska event. The Tunguska trajectory of the comet when it landed. No.
No. That's a good guess because it is unexpected as well. But no, this is unexpected, or rather, it was intended for other reasons. So it was not a natural event like a comet strike, but it was an intentional thing.
Okay, I have this. This is the what do you call it? The military zone between North and South Korea.
The DMZ.
The DMZ. The DMZ. Yes, there's a DMZ.
So the DMZ also has become a nature reserve of sorts because there are 5,000 unique species that are found there
Ah.
because there's no human activity as such happening in the DMZ.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Okay, so the common thread would be places where humans have withdrawn completely and nature has taken over.
Yes, in a way. Yes, in a way. Okay. So last one was actually my favorite one. It's called the European Green Belt, and that's the name that has been given now.
Okay.
It wasn't the name initially, it was given a different name. That's the name probably you and I were more familiar with.
Okay.
And due to the strong commitment of nature conservationists, this place eventually came to be recognized as a nature reserve. It's 870-mile quote ecological treasure trove, and it is home to more than 1,200 rare and endangered species of birds, mammals, and plants. I'm going to give you one more clue, but before I do, I've given you Europe. I've given you roughly how huge it is. Try to take a guess.
Can you repeat the dimensions again?
I'm going to quote the dimensions on the Wikipedia page. It says 870-mile quote ecological treasure trove.
870-mile ecological treasure trove.
Yeah.
In Europe.
Yeah.
800 miles. We're talking about somewhere something unexpected has happened. For the purposes of this question, we are not considering Britain as part of Europe, right?
It's mainland Europe.
Okay. Anything to do with World War One and the mustard gas fields or something like that?
No. So Sai had also mentioned in the question, I'm just going to repeat that it stretches from the Baltic to the Baltic Sea to the Balkan Sea,
Okay.
and it spans roughly 24 countries.
It spans 24 countries.
But it's Europe, like tiny countries.
Yeah. Like all your countries in Europe are almost tiny countries. But wow, okay. Is this the Iron Curtain? Don't tell me something to do with the Iron Curtain.
It is the Iron Curtain. Exactly right.
Wow, that's a fantastic question. Yeah, wow. The Iron Curtain. Nice.
Yes, I hit me with this and I was just insanely blown away. I love the fact that he came up with this question. And actually, I'm going to let him answer it.
The first one is basically the Chernobyl exclusionary zone, and the second one is the DMZ, the demilitarized zone between the two Koreas, and this third one is basically the Iron Corridor, the area between Eastern and Western fronts after the Second World War.
Wow.
I think he misspoke and he called it the Iron Corridor, but it's the Iron Curtain.
This is just, I don't know what to say. It's a fantastic question. Not something I would have thought of.
I love
This
it.
is why we have guests, because these people think so differently from the way you and I think. Like the way I approach trivia or approach finding trivia is so different from how Sai or Annie or Bertie does it. It's just, wow. Just fantastic.
I mean, who would have thought of Shoemaker? Who would have thought of 100 kilometers? The etymology of
Yes.
podcast, museum home of a jazz musician. I love it. It's so different. It's so unique. It's amazing. But let's end it with one of our most unique guests, actually, an Irish American quizmaster.
Yeah, so Garry Levy was a prolific quizmaster in his own right and entrepreneur and businessman from New York, New York. And he was our guest for two episodes, 75 and 76. And he brings, shall I say, a more American outlook to his questions. And so we're going to end today's run of Quizmaster questions with his question.
Greetings, Vineet and Aditya, with the amazing Are You Quizzing Me podcast. This is Garry in New York with Let's Go Trivia, and I have a question for your listeners. So let me set up the question first before I ask it. So London is the capital of England. London contains an N and a D, and England contains an N and a D. Paris is the capital of France. Paris has an A and an R, and so does the word France. So my question is, what is the only US state where its capital city does not contain any of the same letters as its state? I'll say it again. What is the only US state whose capital city does not have any of the same letters as its state? So there you go. Good luck.
Oh, that good luck was so needed because I need the luck in this question.
Yeah, you'll definitely need the hint because, frankly, I was a little stumped after this, and I'm not ashamed to admit it took his second clue for me to get the answer.
Okay, yeah, please give me the clues because I am so lost right now.
Okay.
Here is hint number 1. 2.5 million visitors per year visit this state for a certain reason.
2.5 million visitors for a certain reason.
Yeah. This is, how do I put this? Gary's way of being cheeky.
Oh, man. Okay. Because I was going to say something like Burning Man.
Oh, nice, but no.
No? Okay.
No.
2.5 million visitors for a specific reason. Otherwise, like I would have gone with New York.
My addition, forgive me, Gary, but I have to throw him a line over here, is I would ask you to cast your mind back to the episode where Garry was a quizmaster. So think of that.
Oh.
Think of a question that he had asked. Think of what he says now. And then go to hint number 2.
Here is the second hint. France. That's it. France.
Okay.
So, do you have it?
France makes you think of Louisiana.
Oh, yes, but it's obviously not Louisiana.
It's not Louisiana. Okay. Because I don't even know what the capital of Louisiana is. So,
So, the capital of Louisiana, it's Baton Rouge,
okay.
which
Okay.
obviously does have an A and an O and whatnot. So, think back to Gary's episode where he asked us questions, and remember it was an American Independence Day special episode that we had done, 1776. It was the 75th episode. It was on July 4th. And also think as to
Okay, so I'm gonna take a wild guess. I don't even know which state capital this is. I'm just gonna take a guess just to the
Okay.
state. Reason I'm saying this is because of our 100 episodes. I think this is the only time, because our questions are usually intricate and have something going on behind the scenes. Gary asked one of the most
Yeah.
straightforward questions that had us stumped for a while, which was Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
I remember Mount Rushmore had us stumped. So I'm gonna guess South Dakota because I know South Dakota is where Mount Rushmore is. And this is just a wild guess. That's all I remember from that episode being one of the most stumpy questions.
As I always say, sometimes it's better to play the man than to play the question. And you're right, it is South Dakota. He
Ah,
was referring to Mount Rushmore, which is part of now Mount Rushmore National Park, which, as he had mentioned, I think he mentioned the exact same figures during his question when he asked us
yeah.
which are the four presidents of Mount Rushmore. And we did okay, consider we're not Americans, but
Mhm. It took us a while. It took us a while.
yeah, you can go back to that episode to see what happened. But yes, so the answer is South Dakota, the capital of which is Pierre, which is the French
Ah.
pronunciation for Peter. So Pierre, which has none of the letters in South Dakota.
Hmm.
So that makes it the only state with none of the letters in the state appearing in the spelling of the capital. Now, Gary's given us that fantastic question. I got into a bit of a rabbit hole after listening to this. So I have a follow up question to you, Aditya.
Hmm.
Which is the only American state whose capital has all the letters of the state it is the capital of? So, say, for example, if it was England, ENGLAND, all of those would appear in the name of the capital.
Okay, but the capital could be longer than that also.
Yeah, obviously, it'll have to be longer than that. No, because if you have so many letters, it has to be that.
Hmm. Oh, I know this one.
Okay.
This is Indiana, Indianapolis.
Very good. Yes, it is
Yeah.
Indiana, the capital of which is Indianapolis. So it has Indiana in it, and it has therefore all the letters. And this is, in fact, apparently not shared by any other American state. So
Hmm.
Pierre, South Dakota, is the only capital state which does not have any of the letters from the state name in its spelling. And similarly, Indianapolis is the only state capital which has all of the letters of the state in its spelling. Okay, so those were all the questions that were asked by all our guest quiz masters who appeared on the show in the past 100 episodes. I again want to thank, and in no particular order, Berty Ashley, Hari Krishna, Aishwarya, Garry Levy, Aniruddha, Sen Gupta or Annie, Rajiv De Silva, and Sai Suresh. Thank you all for being such great guests. And I think combined, all of you together have appeared in 16 of our 100 past episodes. We've had company for 16% of our episodes so far.
Mhm.
It's just fantastic. And from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. Thank you guys for coming through with those wonderful questions and making our 100th episode all the more special. And it has now become time for us to wind up today's episode. And the very special question I'd kept as the audience question for our audience, I hope you have guessed what the answer is. And the question here again, the word X in German means fear. The same word with the same spelling in English means a non specific feeling of anxiety and frustration. Identify the word X. Aditya, do you have any idea which word I'm talking about?
Not phobia, right?
No, it's not phobia.
No, I don't know.
So the word I'm talking about is angst. So angst in German means fear.
Oh.
But the same word with the same spelling in English means a non specific feeling of anxiety and frustration.
That's a lovely positive note to end our 100th episode on. I like it.
And before we go, there is the matter of our pop culture recommendations. Aditya, what do you have?
Oh, I don't know why I had been sleeping on this for so long, but I recently watched Predestination. So go check out Predestination.
Oh, yes. And let me say that that movie is a mind fuck of a movie.
You cannot swear so much. I cannot keep putting expletives on our episode beneath. I'll
Okay, so
beep
then
that
I'm
out.
going to let me just rephrase that to say that is a mind beep of a movie.
Yes.
Anyway, it's a brilliant movie, and I always put it forward as one of the most logical yet convoluted time travel movies ever made.
Hmm.
And Ethan Hawke has done a fantastic job. I've recommended to a lot of people And I am also now wondering why we haven't recommended it on the show before, because we both seem to be such great fans. I would like to recommend a horror movie. This is not something that had a mainstream release in India, as far as I know. And the movie is called Oddity. That's Oddity. It's a 2024 Irish horror film. I'm not going to say anything about it. Just watch it. Spooky as hell. It's really, really spooky. It's got a very fresh premise, and it's a wonderful movie. I really liked it. It's an indie horror, nothing too flashy, and a fantastic movie. So go check out Oddity. And that is all we have for today's episode. Thank you all for listening in. We hope you enjoyed the show and learned something new. If you liked what you heard, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform, wherever you're listening to us right now. It helps us reach a wider audience and allows more people to discover and enjoy the show. We are also available on YouTube. And as I've heard many YouTubers say, I'm going to say this as well. Apparently, 70% of people who are listening to our show on YouTube are not subscribed to us on YouTube. So please subscribe. Help us, pad those meager subscriber numbers. It's just a fraction of the number of subscribers that we have on our major podcast platforms. We need to pad those numbers, guys. Come on, YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We'd again love to hear from you, feedback, suggestions, even trivia. If you want to have a question asked on the show, you can send us a question at areyouquizzingme@gmail.com with the name of the quizmaster in the subject line. You can also reach out to us on Instagram at areyouquizzingme. We have a community on Reddit, a subreddit r/areyouquizzingme, and I think that's about it. We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more episodes with you. But before I wind up, I really want to say a heartfelt thanks to my co-host Aditya Kashyap, who I just realized has probably not seen Black Friday, because it would be really, really confusing for him, considering that the movie was directed by A. Kashyap and stars A. Srivastav. So, long-time episode listeners will understand what I mean. But yes, I can't have asked for a better co-host, and he has literally dragged us over the finish line, especially these past few months where I've been so extremely busy that we've not been able to put out episodes. Yes, we know we are a little behind schedule, but we hope to get back on schedule, and we hope to bring something absolutely new in a few episodes. So all those listeners who've stayed with us from episode 1, thank you, and thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day.
Yeah, before I wind up, I also have to give my due thanks. Vineet, it's been really fun. The last 100 episodes have been great. My only complaint is, please don't let me design the cover art for our episodes. I hate it. I design it every single time. We've been busy last few weeks. I've been doing it, and I abhor it every time. I don't even mind. I find a good image. I'll find the right colors. The font. Can you please, for the love of God, share the font with me, because this stupid font that I've been using annoys me so much.
Unfortunately, it's a proprietary Adobe font. You'll need an Adobe subscription, and I'll be taking both those duties back from Aditya. At least
Yes,
the cover art should, I think,
just the font and nothing else. Just please take back the font duties. Everything else is fine. I'm happy to work on everything else. So no, this has been fun. It's been amazing 100 episodes, and see you guys for the next 100 episodes as well.